I'd like to talk to you today about bargaining, the third stage in the process of acceptance. When we receive bad news or an untoward event occurs in our lives, we go through a series of stages to hopefully reach acceptance. Those 5 stages are well defined by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross as anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. A couple weeks ago I talked to you about anger, and I gave 3 simple steps that you can utilize to hopefully decrease the intensity of the anger one may feel. Those 3 steps are: 1, recognize your triggering events; 2, stop, look, and listen; and number 3, respond, don't react. Last week we talked about denial. We went through the protective mechanisms that protect us from the harsh reality of the situation that we have received, and how we should neither challenge nor go along with denial when it occurs. We should just recognize its existence and then move on and try to get to the next stage. I'd like to talk to you today about the third stage in the process of acceptance, and that is bargaining. Now, Webster defines bargaining as to negotiate over the terms of a contract, purchase, or agreement, to come to terms, or to bring to a desired level. When an untoward event occurs in our lives or we receive bad news, assuming that anger and denial have diminished and we've gone through those stages, the next in the queue is bargaining. Now, bargaining and negotiating are essentially the same thing. When we negotiate or bargain, we like to have all of the facts on our side so that we can win. And one of the things that we struggle with so often is why. Why did this event occur? Why did we receive this bad news, and what's the cause? Once we have that information, we believe that we can move on to the next step. Now, bargaining is never productive if it's based on emotion. If it is based on emotion, then essentially it becomes just an argument. Now, that is not to say that there is not a lot of emotion involved when an untoward event occurs in our lives or when we receive bad news, or even in just simple bargaining or negotiating. If the anger and the denial have not been dealt with adequately, have not been dealt with at all, then yes, there can be a lot of emotion involved in it, and it could be more of an argument than a fruitful discussion. Although bargaining really must be looked at as an attempt to change the reality of a situation. I'll come to work on time, I'll be more productive in what I do if you don't fire me. I'll quit smoking this time for real if you'll tell me that the spot on my lung will disappear. Although bad news is not generally an agreement or a contract, initially we have difficulty dealing with it, bringing it to terms for ourselves, and bringing it to a desired level. Now, there are no contracts or agreements in life. There is nothing that says there are no guarantees that if you do this, you will get that. As the old expression goes, what you see is what you get. Now, I'm not saying that you should just lie down and accept bad news as your final answer. All I'm saying is that you cannot bargain through bad news. What you need to do is to work your way through it, work your way towards acceptance, and move on. Bad news, bad things happen to everybody, even good people. So what's my advice? How do you make it through the stage of bargaining? Well, first of all, you cannot negotiate bad news. You need to adjust to it. You need to bring it to your desired level. And finally, you need to deal with it, because you cannot move on until you reach acceptance. You have the key to your future. Be positive. Be thankful. See you next week for depression.